6:30 on the dot, but maybe it's just not right.
Well, all right, here we go. We'll call this meeting to order. Is there a motion to go into closed meeting?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you, I tell you what, let's hold on for that roll call. I see our two other members coming. Well, both of you are smiling, so the meeting must have gone though. There was a motion and a second to go in the closed meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. DeMott?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors hereby enters into closed meeting for the purposes of discussing the following. Discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property where the discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. 1, former Blacksburg Middle School property. 2, former Blacksburg High School property. And the second item is discussion and consideration or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, discipline, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body, namely the Parks and Rec Commission. Is there a motion to go out of closed meeting?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll in going out of closed meeting?
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. DeMott?
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies to the best of each member's knowledge only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board. And this is our Board's commitment to you that we're only discussing things and giving our word that we're only discussing things that we're allowed to discuss in closed meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. DeMott?
Yes, except for the discussion on the old Blacksburg Middle School site. Based on a previous disclosure, I recused myself from that conversation.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
At this point in time, we're going to have a moment of silence so we can consider the business there before the Board, and then the County Administrator is going to lead us in the pledge.
Let us pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
At this time, we have public address, and our first person that we have signed up is Paul Smeal. You have 5 minutes, Mr. Smeal. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Chair Tuck, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Smeal, 1107 Kentwood Drive, Blacksburg, Virginia. A resident of Montgomery County since 1960, so I guess I'm getting old. I have two items I just want to bring up, and then I'm going to digress on a couple of them. One is thanks for the support you've given for many, many things that have been done. And I want to come back to this and reiterate on some of those items are. Secondly, something very close to me is that on Saturday, last Saturday, Kim B. Adams completed 30 years of service. I guess what upsets me is thinking that she might retire. And with that in mind, as a horticulturist, I think I really missed the boat, but I may plant or propagating her so we have a clone to carry on the work that she's done, because she's really loved by a lot of people. With that said, I'd like to back up a little bit now. And I was trying to think about this today when I first started working with the Montgomery County Parks and Rec. Hopefully some of you might remember Tom Bain, which goes back now about, 20 years. He retired, then we had another person, and that didn't last long, so Tom was hired back. So you might say I started working with Parks and Rec close to 18, maybe 20 years ago. One way I keep track of how long I worked with Kim Villa was I invited to her wedding, and so I keep asking her, what anniversary is this? And last December, it was the 15th. So I guess I've been working with Kim Villa in the senior programs now for at least 17 years or more. So I just bring that to you because I think I can speak with just a hint of authority as to what's going on in Parks and Rec, and especially with the seniors. Now, thanks to you, and I thought about three items that is important, I guess. One was the support you've given to the Huckleberry Trail, but more importantly, the porta-john that was added to the Huckleberry Trail, because as one walks the trail and visits, we probably get more visitors, more walkers from Merrimack to the mall than anywhere else other than Blacksburg Library to Market Beach. And so it's been very good, and Mitchell's done a terrific job of maintaining it and so forth. We had to share vandalism and all that, but many, many people appreciate that comfort station. And it's been used so much that I think it has to be honey dipped or pumped 2 or 3 times a year rather than just maybe 2, maybe 3 or 4. And while I mentioned Mitchell, I'm going to go back to Tom Bain's situation where we had one director, he left, another director, he left, another director, he left. And I don't know if Carol can remember this, but we stood in a meeting with Mitchell. She threatened him that if he leaves, he has to give up his firstborn. So I don't know, that's what's kept Mitchell on for all these years. And the difference between Mitchell and the other 3 directors was that Mitchell supported his staff, where I thought the other directors thought of promoting themselves and so forth. So Mitchell's done a fantastic job, and I want to recognize him per se on that. Secondly, for many years when I got involved, everything was paper to do registration. And I guess we in Blacksburg, because I was a member of their Parks and Rec for some 20 years, we got online registration, and that's been very, very helpful. And every meeting I'd bring it up to Mitchell and said, put it in the budget, I'm getting it. Well, we've had online registration, and now we don't have a long line waiting for the doors to open to come in to register. So that's been a big thing. And Mr. Meadows will really appreciate my third item of thanks, is that as I drove through the mall the other day, not only did I get 1 bench, I got 2 benches sitting outside. So
It only took us, 3 years?
at least 2. I thought that might be a long time, but for those familiar with Blacksburg, for some 40 years, the kids walked to the middle school without no sidewalk on Palmer. So that only took me 40 years, so I feel good about my benches in 2 years. And once we got the street or sidewalk on Palmer, then we got Grissom and Giles and some other things. And when I first started all that, no one walks in Blacksburg. We don't need sidewalks. Well, that's not the case today. So those items I think are very, very important. And I guess if I had a wish or a magic wand to wave over Parks and Rec, I would certainly like to see a gym and outdoor facilities down in Shawsville and Ellison, one out at Price's Fork, one over at Ryder, and one out at the Mid-County Park. I keep buying lottery tickets and threaten Mitchell if I win, I'm giving them to him because I don't want the problems. So with that, I want to thank you, and I hope you recognize I can thank.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Smeal. Our next speaker that is signed up is Susan Miller.
Good evening. My name is Susan Miller. Good evening, Mr. Tuck and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Susan Miller, and I live at 3065 Mud Pike Road in Christiansburg. Even though our address is the Mud Pike Road, we live in the county. So we are in the Auburn attendance zone. I also have a terrible cold and the whatever it is going around, and you'll just have to bear with me. I've had the pleasure of serving 2 terms with the Montgomery Floyd Regional Library, and I am currently in my 3rd term with Montgomery County Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm also president of the Montgomery County Emergency Assistance Board. Both of the organizations I work with are near and dear to my heart, as is my friend Paul Schmiel. And I have come tonight to ask you to listen and help both groups through the budget process. For Montgomery County Parks and Recreation, I do hope that you will realize that Mitchell Hawk, you have the ultimate consummate professional who squeezes every penny out of every dollar that he is given for use in our recreational services. He is also a laborer when that is needed, and I know that he has spent untold hours at the Frog Pond to make it right for all of the community members who come to the pool. Please be sure to keep Mitchell in mind for those who need a bigger salary, as he is the best thing that has happened to Parks and Rec in the 10+ years that I have been on the commission. He has saved you thousands of dollars because he and his staff are creative and work very hard each and every day. Our participation numbers are up from last year, and we as a commission must advise the department as to what to do with the 18 softball teams we will have from the Auburn area, the 12 teams from Price's Fork, and the 12 teams from Eastern Montgomery this spring. We do not have facilities for this team. Is this a recurring thing or something? But anyway, we don't have enough fields, but they will make it work. This obviously reflects a desire for our children to participate, but it is stretching our resources to an extreme. This year we have 70 children ages 5 and 6 in the Auburn Strand for T-ball. That's up from 39 from last year. In Eastern Montgomery, we have 49 as opposed to 20. Obviously, Montgomery County Parks and Rec is doing the right things to attract children and their parents. But in 5 or 10 years, where will we be? Please read the master plan. In several weeks, you will be receiving a copy of the master plan that has been put together by the staff at the Regional Planning Commission headed by Kevin Bird. I have seen the draft and have found that there are many facets of the plan which will require discussion and some decision making. The most shocking point is the fact that per capita in our region, Montgomery County is far behind all of our neighbors in our financial commitment to Montgomery County Parks and Rec. This is most alarming considering what services we provide for our constituents. When you receive this report from us, we, the Parks and Recreation Commission members, will be here to provide information regarding all that is included in the master plan. Please reflect on the increased requests for activities for all ages and the amount of financial commitment to Mitchell and his staff. Now I need to shift gears and change my focus to Montgomery County Emergency Assistance Program, where I worked all day today. I am the president of the board of directors, and I take this responsibility very seriously. Last year, we were able to purchase the old Family Dollar store at 308 West Main Street in Christiansburg, and the new visibility of McKeep became a reality. It has brought us more business than we really anticipated ahead of time. Our mission is to help, and that is what we do. We help all who qualify who live in Montgomery County by sorting and selling gently used clothing, furniture, and other items. All of the money that we make, less our mortgage and the utilities for 308 West Main Street, is returned to Montgomery County by providing food, rental, mortgage payments, heating assistance, utility bills, etc. We also buy bus tickets for people who have just gotten out of jail so they can return to family members in another locality. If that's not an emergency need, I don't know what is. We only pay mortgage and utilities for our building. Our one-time part-time employee is paid by funding from the United Way and Montgomery County. Our paperwork has been submitted and we await hearing about funding. Our one part-time employee works out of the Community Action Building at 110 Roanoke Street, as that is our official office. Last year, McKeep assisted 2,368 individuals with rental, utilities, and heating assistance. In addition, we provided 444 individuals with clothing vouchers for 2 complete outfits per person per family and gently used clothing for a job interview. In the food pantry, we assisted 2,418 individuals with a week's worth of food. Last year, we spent $222,000 plus for assistance in 2015. You can read the rest of my comments as I'm going to give them to Vicki. Thank you very much for your time and your support. You have one of these.
Yes.
So you know that, yes.
Yes.
Plus, I'm also giving you a commitment sheet to pledge $1,000 because that's what I did the rest of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Those were all that were signed up. However, the public address is open to anyone. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any subject? Going once, going twice. No, we're going to close public address. Is there an addendum?
No addendum this evening.
Is there a motion regarding consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next is, and on the agenda is the work session. And I asked for this to be put on the agenda. There was no specific topic in regards as to the work session. If there is not a need amongst my fellow supervisors, if there's nothing to discuss, I'm happy to pass over this, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone had an opportunity to ask any questions of the staff or discuss any other issues that they had regarding the budget. Is there a motion in regards, does there anyone see a need to go into work session to discuss budget issues? All right, I'm seeing no, so that we're going to let staff leave and we're going to just skip over. Is it all right to just, Marty?
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to move on to new business.
Thank you, and I would just add to that the public hearing on the budget will be on Thursday, April 7th, which is a week from Thursday. So that will be at 6 o'clock here in this room. So if anyone has any comments that evening, I would be glad to take them then. And then there'll also be a regular board meeting on Monday the 14th where we'll have any follow-up from that. So.
All right, new business. Authorization to file a request with FERC to become a consulting party regarding the Mountain Valley Pipeline.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? Or is there any discussion, I guess, before?
Do we need to just say what it is so the public that's listening knows what it is exactly?
This
that we're
resolution
doing?
would authorize the County of Montgomery County, Virginia to file a request with FERC to become a consulting party for the purposes of the Natural Historic Preservation Act of 1966, Section 106 review process in regards to the Mountain Valley Pipeline application and basically putting us on the docket so we can basically become a consulting party as to this issue as well. We've already filed to be an intervener.
Right, and I can add, what it allows us to do is to participate anytime FERC has to do a big pipeline like this, they have to do a cultural and historical survey of the area that's going to be affected by the pipeline. And so now they'll have to consult with us. We'll use our planning department and our GIS department to give them feedback on what historical and cultural both properties and structures may be adversely impacted by the pipeline, and then they'll also allow us to give input on what we think should be done to preserve or protect those properties. And so it'll, as this board has already done by becoming an intervener, you'll be involved in the process more. You'll be providing input, and it'll help your citizens as this project goes through. So.
Thank you very much for that explanation. There was a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
No.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 nay.
Next on the agenda is a proclamation regarding National Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Creed?
Yes.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Proclamation National Library Week.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next is proclamation regarding National Volunteer Week, April 10th through the 16th, 2016.
Motion.
Second. Third.
Any discussion? I would just like to say this in regards to, well, one of our mottos is freedom increases responsibility, and we have so many citizens who take up that mantle, and they volunteer huge amounts of their time. Well, one of the fellow citizens is our board member, Mr. King, who volunteers a tremendous amount of his time with the volunteer fire department, but not just the volunteer fire department, volunteer rescue squad. We have numerous volunteers with numerous different agencies, and I'm happy to be able to move forward with this proclamation. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Proclamation regarding National Service Day, April the 5th, 2016.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next is County Attorney's Report.
I have no report tonight, Mr. Chair.
County Administrator's Report.
Just a couple items. Wanted to mention to you that, and I've mentioned this before, I'll be attending an ICMA regional meeting this Thursday and Friday. And it seems to be April is the month for meetings and events. Next week, I've been asked to speak to a local government class at Radford University, so I'm looking forward to that. That's always challenging. They ask some very interesting questions, sometimes very challenging questions. And then a week from Friday, I'll be attending the VACO Finance Committee meeting in Richmond. And the rest of that time, I'll be around here. And that's all I have.
Supervisor DeMoss.
I have no report.
Supervisor Shepherd.
No report.
Supervisor King.
You know I always got something to say.
Good.
Now, I just want to elaborate on what Chair Tuck said. You know, there's a lot of volunteers in Montgomery County. It makes the whole county work. I mean, it does. And you can tell the passion that a lot of them has that deals with young children, deals with seasoned adults. And I do appreciate everything they do. I really do. I was talking to a seasoned adult the other day, and she was telling me, she says, I've been living for 89 years. I said, ma'am, you're still living. I said, you're still living. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that seasoned people, you know, because they can learn us so much. If you just sit down and talk to them, they can learn you so much. Thank you.
Supervisor Perkins.
Just one thing. I wanted you all to know that I did attend the Department of Social Services board meeting on Monday. It was good to be back. It was good to talk with them. And Todd, they had very nice, kind things to say about you.
Who?
Those people.
What people?
Those people. And I said, every bit of it's true, you know. But anyway, I am delighted to take over for Mr. King for a while anyway, and so I appreciate very much what they do. It is quite a burden. Yeah, well, it's not a burden to me, but for those people that work there, they really, really care about what they are doing. So I wanted to say thank you, and thank you for your service, because you really did a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Supervisor Creed.
Just a couple little things.
Allegheny Springs, if you go up in there, we still have got a major supply of potholes that seems to always come around. That Willis Hollows one, and then George's Run on the other one. That's actually a hard surface road, and it got completely torn apart. I mean, it was, you wouldn't know it was a asphalted road. It's just a nasty one. So, you know, it's something we need to take care of, and if we don't remind them, I guess we never will.
We will.
Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs.
I wanted to thank the board members that were able to attend the library board reception in Christiansburg. That was the one I was out of town in Richmond, so I wasn't able to attend. I hope it went well. And I attended the community services board meeting last Thursday. Everything looks good with the budget. They seem to be right on track with spending this year, and looks like next year is going to be fine. And then I have sort of a weird thing to say. Thank you. I had a citizen call me on the phone, not in my district, and she didn't leave her name. But she called and she had a very positive message for me at the time. It was a very uplifting message. And she'd been watching our board meetings, and so whoever this lady is, I want to thank her. And I'm sorry I didn't get your name. That's it.
Couple of things. As y'all know, I'm on the Fire and Rescue Commission. They were very appreciative for the extra funds that were in the budget to try to help address some of their needs, and I was thanked by all the different departments that were present. Many of you may have seen a sentencing that was done. A gentleman who was involved with an accident, his child was killed, and I was talking with one of the rescue workers who volunteers. The thoughts of going and having to go to that call and know that there's a child in that car and that you're going to have to get that body out and you're going to try to have to treat the folks that are in there. And then think, they're not being paid. They're volunteering to do that. I'm very appreciative of the work that they do. This young lady was very moved by what had happened, but at the same time, she's still volunteering. She's still answering those calls. But I just happened to speak with her a little bit in the last couple of days, and I again want to thank all the volunteers, but especially those that answer those calls. That calls, frankly, I don't think there's enough money in the world that I could respond and act accordingly the way those folks do. So, there being no other business, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.